Hello and welcome to She the People Screen Fest. Here on this panel, we are going to talk about from Telly to web, power of the audiences. We will be discussing how the face of the small screen is changing with the OTT coming into the picture. With us, there are three wonderful ladies today who will be talking about their respective journeys. We have Divya Seth Shah, actor and famous theatre personality, who started her small screen working experience with the show Hum Log. We have actor Sayani Datta, who is crossing over from the vernacular movies to mainstream Bollywood and has also done web series. And we also have with us Anjali Tatrari, who is a well known small screen face today. First, we go over to Divya to talk about her journey. Is OTT changing the face of small screen?
I think the creative process, I think television and the shows we make, everything also has its own path and journey. When I was doing a lot of television 20 years ago, the script was king. And yeah, and the storyline and the performances, they were all important. The productions weren't. And there were all other things which were still finding their feet, so to speak. But now everything has found its feet. The productions are brilliant, camera work is brilliant, costumes are outstanding. The writing is a bit, dodgy here and there, but everything has a path, everything has its journey, and it'll come back and land where it's meant to. So now, like you see, television has found its groove and it's sticking to that, which is basically soaps and reality. And web series are exploring everything that you can imagine. I mean, every single possible. And it has the freedom and it has the commercials to be able to film it the way it wants. So I think these journeys are just brilliant, and I think there has never been a better time. In spite of the kind of year we've had, uh, you know,
Right.
the web and the internet and the OTT has just taken off, and it's such a brilliant space to be in because everyone is working. Everyone has work. There is a niche for everyone. Everybody can do their bit, and I think that's quite wonderful.
So, do you think like earlier there used to be this, big screen, small screen divide that, one would not, a small screen person making it to big screen would be a tough job. Do you think OTT is the bridging gap? Do you think more actors are getting to play the kind of roles they want? And both ways, the small screen people are going on to OTT as well as the big screen people.
I,
So, do
I,
you
I can only speak for myself. I've never really given it very analytical thought that, okay, I should do this, then this will lead me to this. I've just done the jobs I like and the jobs that come to you. Actors have to be very honest about that and very realistic about that. You have to pick and choose amongst the work that you get. So, you can sift that. But I don't know about a bridging gap, but I definitely think that the quantity is much more. I mean, there is lots of quantity because OTT is doing so much work, and there's so many channels, and there's television. So, and unfortunately, because of the kind of year we've had, and I think we're going to continue to have a few years like that, going to a cinema hall, the effort, the risk, the space, the cost might just take a backseat for a while. So I think, like I said, I can speak for myself. I would rather be at home and watch it on my big screen, rather than go to a cinema hall right now.
welcome to She the People Screen Fest. Today we are here to discuss about Telly to web, the power of audiences, and we have with us the star uh, Anjali Tatrari. So we'll have an amazing conversation with her. Daily soaps, the actors are part of the audience's lives on a day-to-day basis. Now, do you think they enjoy the love that big screen actors do not?
Initially, when I wanted to become an actor, when I decided to become an actor, of course, I had a choice of either going to web or TV shows. But I think the kind of exposure TV has, no other medium can give you that kind of exposure. And it's actually the day I decided to be an actor, I think that was the best decision of my life, because I've never felt so loved, like, imagine the people who don't even know you praising your work, acknowledging your work, and giving you blessings, and they haven't even met you personally. But that kind of exposure, I think only TV can give.
The audiences probably relate to a TV character, like, their arcs, their journeys in a much more closer way than a big screen actor than they would to a big screen actor. Do you agree to
Of
that?
course, of course, of course, because it's like they've added that half an hour to their routine, to their life. They watch us almost every day, and like they got so connected to my previous character because it was quite relatable also. So they related when they related in quite so many ways, be it my journey with my dad, or be it my journey, career wise. So they tend to, of course, connect more because they're seeing you every day. It feel that like we are a part of their lives, because they've added that half an hour in their entire routine. So they watch us every day. Of course, that ways they feel more connected to us.
So, according to you, how has the Indian television changed in the last decade or so? Like in terms of representation of women specifically?
See, of course, there has been quite an improvement, because so far, how much ever I seen TV, we've only shown women as in a domestic way, like she being around the cleaning or household work. We've only showed her in a domestic way and not in any other zone. And now, and also, yeah, women have always been showed as a nurturer, like she is the one who's taking care of the family, she's the one who's doing all the work, and we don't really show men doing that. So recently, I think what I have noticed is that we have changed that. We show men also doing the work what females do, and so it's more like on the gender basis. We've changed, of course. And, yeah, also the fact that I can give you an example from my character. Now, this is a house. I'm playing a housewife, but we haven't shown her a typical housewife how we show in TVs usually. Okay, she's the one who's doing all the work. Even after me being, around 7.5 men, I make sure that everybody is doing their work. So our show also ends with a moral, like it gives a message saying that if everybody does their little bit, it'll never have a burden on the single female who's there in the family. So of course, recent times they have changed that, and I think there's still a long way to go. Yeah, I mean, women are basically used to fill up the background. I feel initially ऐसा होता था, but now we also play protagonists, we play lead roles, we're given the same kind of exposure like the men or the male actors do. So that way we've of course changed, but there's still a long way to go. I mean, if we talk about music albums and all, women are only shown as a good face to fill up the background. So I think if that changes, of course, there'll be quite an improvement. But otherwise, in TV shows, of course, we have changed the character that so far I have done, because as an actor, I cannot do something that I'm not convinced doing. And so far, all the characters that I've done were the ones that people might have gotten influenced by, be it my character or be it at home. So everything that I do so far, I've made sure that the content's nice, and it's not something unbelievable. Like, I don't sleep with jewelries on for a change, I do not sleep with makeup on for a change. So I only do something that I'm convinced doing, and it's changing for sure. Initially, जैसा हम लोग दिखाते थे, the women doing all the work in the family and all, that has changed. I make my husband do work in this show. So yeah, of course, there is an improvement.
Right. So do you think the audiences are finally kissing Saas Bahu saga as a goodbye, and like the
I think
the
there's an
love
audience
in
for, yeah, I think there's
all?
still an audience for both the genres. Yeah, like the specific channel. If I talk about the shows that I have done, I had such an educated audience. Imagine the men of the society turning up to me and acknowledging the work. So we also have men watching the shows, And then again, we have a set of audiences who like watching the Saas Bahu dramas and all. But the audiences are definitely changing. They do not want to see something that they do not believe in. And you might be like this again has changed over the years, that you might be a good looking face, but if you're not a good actor, nobody's going to accept you and nobody's going to, acknowledge your work. So that has also changed. So, of course, I think audiences have become educated about what they want to see, but in TV, of course, depends on what kind of audience, like rural audience and urban audiences. My shows have always been around the urban audiences, so I had quite an educated audience watching my show. I had stand-up comedians talking about my show. I mean, Aditi Mittal had tweeted about my show apparently. So we have both the audiences, but of course the audiences are changing. They want to see something which is relatable, believable, then be it TV or then be it any other OTT platforms. And we are also making shows, which are relatable nowadays and less of Sazbo dramas. And post COVID, I don't think nobody wants to see uh, any of those dramas, yeah. So that's why we've also come up with a show, at least that half an hour they can have that constant smile or laugh on their faces.
So, you just mentioned about OTT. So, between small screen versus OTT, do you think that OTT shows actually give women more agency than daily soaps on television are doing?
They do, but again, yeah, it completely depends on the audiences. I mean, that ways, of course, we don't really show the kissing or all of those physical. But I believe in that, because how else will you show romance between two people? So again, it depends completely on the audiences, of course, because TV shows are more of like family dramas, and all the age groups watch it. So we have different platforms of different set of audiences, but of course, OTT platforms are much more open to things that we wouldn't be able to show in TV industry. Though we are all trying that to change the mindset of that also. So we're coming up with shows that like the previous show, if I talk about, we were showing, uh, you know. Quite an old couple romancing each other and all of that. So the TV is also really trying to cope up with everything which is relatable nowadays. But of course, OTT that way has a little bit of advantage.
So, television is an ongoing process. How do you prepare yourself so that on a day-to-day basis you make the character more interesting? I'm sure script is a part of it, but as an actor, how do you? What is your thought process?
See, I think it's an advantage for the actor, yeah, because you're facing the camera every day, you're living the character every day, so that just makes you better. And now talking about this show, Sargam Ki Sade Sati, it's a sitcom, so every day the concept, the story is different, and I always decide on doing shows also which will give versatility to my characters also. Now the earlier show was completely different from what I'm doing right now, and this being a sitcom, I get an opportunity to play around every second day because of the improvisations or because of the script. And I think some comedy opens up you as an actor, and if you're facing camera every day, that only makes you better. I mean, people talk about TV actors, they don't, the film directors, they don't want to cast TV directors, but TV actors. But I feel TV actors are the most hardworking people, because give them a script 10 minutes before the scene and they'll be ready. Or talk about them facing the camera every day. They're the most comfortable in front of the cameras. So that ways, I think it's easier for us because we're living the character almost every day. But to keep it interesting, of course, the script does half of the work. But this particular genre, uh, it's not an ongoing show, so we have different hilarious situations every day. So it gives me a chance to play around with my character according to the situation, of course. But otherwise also, I'm very particular about the kind of content that I choose. So it doesn't have that typical rona dhona the entire day or entire time, but it gives me a chance to keep playing around with my character.
So, do you believe that when television started, we were way ahead in terms of depicting the day-to-day life on the shows, tele shows that were happening, say late 80s, early 90s, and in between there was like it kind of went down. Probably technologically we got advanced, but in terms of content, it kind of went down
In TV,
in TV.
I don't agree with that. I mean, like I said also, that earlier the content was something, that wasn't relatable. But now we are focusing more on the content, like I said, because the audience is not ready to accept something that they're not believing in. So even the TV shows or the TV channels, they're focusing more on the content. So we are actually coming up with better content now. Like
Yeah,
we
so
don't really have,
what I'm
yeah.
saying is, like, when, say, in late 80s, mid to late 80s, when television started, we had certain shows which were way ahead of their time. Those were more relatable to the audiences. But in between, somewhere, it became kind of, now again. Do you think in between there was a period when real life was not was what was getting depicted on screens?
See, that again depends on what the producers have. Some producers really like to not take risks, so they stick to the same genre which has been going on for years. But then there are some channels which, of course, try to bring out something. They take a risk, like this show again being a risk because we do not really have quite too many comedy shows, and comedy is not a very tried out genre as such in our industry. We have more of slice of life dramas and all, but yeah, there were quite too many shows earlier. I remember watching quite too many shows like that, which were ahead of time. So I personally don't watch too much of TV, so I can't comment on that. I am also more of an OTT platform. I think I've only started watching since the time I have joined television. Otherwise, I'm not really a TV audience. But so I can't really comment on that. But if you talk about OTT platforms, of course, the genres are amazing. Yeah, I mean, I am more of I love sci-fi, so I think if TV starts doing something like that, it would be so interesting.
Hi and welcome to She the People. Today we have with us Sayani Datta, and
Hi.
we are here for a conversation for She the People Screen Fest. Uh, Shiny, I'll start. I'll begin by asking you. You are in making a transition from the vernacular to the mainstream right now. So, what are the challenges that you have faced during this journey?
See, I think the film business is all about challenges every day, no matter where you work. Either it's Calcutta or in Bombay or in the South. It's always a challenge. For actors, it's a challenging game altogether. And for me, it's more difficult. It was more difficult because it's a language. It's a totally different language. It's a Hindi language, and when you do a film in a different language, it changes everything for you. So for me, the biggest challenge was okay. I have to speak Hindi throughout, and I'm a Bengali, and we Bengalis do have Hindi issues little bit. So that was the biggest challenge for me, I guess.
Right. So, you know, this is this film is directly releasing on the OTT.
That's
Right.
right.
Right. So about the big screen and the small screen as an actor, what do you think? Changes when a film directly releases on the OTT. How does your audience interaction change, or what do you think are the differences?
I think right now the main difference is after lockdown, our lives has changed, right? And I am grateful that my film is at least releasing. I look it into the picture like this because the theaters are still not running that well post COVID. So now for an actor, for a newcomer, the first film, it's releasing on a great platform. And I think I am blessed. And I think this is the next big thing for us because there are a lot of people who still doesn't want to go to the theaters because of the fear. So the OTT has changed a lot for a lot of people who doesn't want to go to the theater and still want to enjoy something at home. So I think it's a great place.
So, in terms of your audience feedback, how do you think that would change? Like, you are so
Um,
used to big screen releases and the love the audience feedback. Now, when it comes to a small screen, where do you think the change lies?
I think now social media plays a big role in our lives, right? So even when I watch my colleagues in the small screen OTT platform, I write about them or I write about the particular work on social media. I think that plays a little bit of a role right now because
what do you do then? How do you put across people? You can only use social media at the moment, and it has become easier over the time for us. I think this is one advantage. Yeah. Right. So, do you think that the small screen stars or actors, they enjoy being part of the audience's lives on a daily basis, which big screen people don't? Um, it depends actually. I mean, I think everybody wants to enjoy that. Either you're on big screen or on small screen. I think everybody enjoys that. Every actor would enjoy that. So, you also you were also part of a OTT series, Bombers, right? Yes. In terms of, do you think OTT is the bridging gap between television and big screen? Honestly, I think so. Yes, because when I was doing Bombers, I played a very small character there. But to start with something, I thought this is a great platform for newcomers like us. So yeah, it was kind of a bridge which I took, and then I reached a lot of people for that posted. So yeah, it has helped a lot, and I think it will help a lot of newcomers in the future also. Right. About the theme of, I mean, as it's again a horror story, that and horror as a genre is something we are exploring. We are exploring comedy, horror. Uh, but do you think women's role in the genre is a bit? I mean, they are not always the portrayal. Let's talk about the portrayal of women in the genre. What would you say about that? No, I don't think so, because when I was working in the Tollywood industry, I'm still working. I mean, I've always got roles which is more than enough. I mean, throughout the film, I'm there. I mean, in Bollywood also, it has changed over the period of time. I believe so, and it's going to change more in the future as well. So no, I don't think like that. I think it's far better today than what it was probably 5 years back when I started my career. Right. So, I mean, in terms of like the Nagins and like, I mean, has the portrayal of we saw for women were generally like, they became in horror, they were portrayed as like the witch, the portrayal I'm talking about. Do you think the portrayal is being a part of I mean, I don't know. I mean, your movie will watch it and like. See, a horror film is not only about the main woman who's the lead is a witch or a devil or a ghost. It's not. Yeah. Like so, that. Are we breaking that myth? Is my question. Yes, are we totally, breaking totally. That? I mean, after this film releases, I think it should break at least 95% of it, if not 100%. Right, right, right. Thank you, Divya. Thank you, Anjali and Shiny, for joining us today.